There's no time to be distracted by my other bikes. It's time to get back to the gravel because it's going down to the New Forest next weekend. A few things I want to do, but I must give it a good clean. Make sure everything's well sorted, give the drivetrain a clean, try adjusting the gears, and I may well even treat it to some new cables. We'll see how we go with the clean and adjustment. One thing I do want to do is replace the saddle. The one it came with isn't the most comfy, particularly if we're going to be bouncing along the fire tracks of the New Forest. So I'm going to put something on there. I've just grabbed something quickly, nothing expensive, but I'm hoping it will be a better option. So let's get the board mold off and put the one that I've bought on. I'm actually undoing it, and you can see it's got quite crusty and claggy under there, and that bolt's looking a little bit corroded, so I'll use it as an opportunity to give it a good clean under there too. And there you go, it's out, it's apart, and there's plenty to clean up, including those bits here. This is the saddle I'm going to put on. Not a huge difference, but certainly more padded. It wasn't a lot of money, but we'll see how it gets on. I've got another bike that it will probably go on after this trip, and I'll put a better one on the Boardman. There we are, it's on. I will of course have to adjust the seat post up or down as required, and also move the seat fore and aft and tilt it to suit my preferences. Next I'm going to move on to trying to give everything a good clean, and possibly one of the most important things, seeing if I can convert the tyres and wheels to tubeless. Back from an adventure in the New Forest, let's think about how the bike went and what happened. It was a good fun adventure. I was expecting pretty much all gravel, but in reality it was probably 2/5 single track, more suited to a mountain bike, 2/5 gravel and 1/5 on the road. And to be honest with you, the gravel bike handled it all. The 2/5 that were on single track, more suited to a mountain bike, I'd have definitely preferred to have had a mountain bike, but I was able to deal with it quite well on this. I was pretty pleased that, having not had time to do the conversion to tubeless, that I suffered no pinch flats and I suffered no other flats. I think New Forest doesn't have too much in the way of hawthorn bushes that get thrashed, which is what I'm used to in other areas that have caused me punctures on mountain bikes in the past. Both wheels seem pretty true, the braking was good, and there's a few things that it's taught me that I need to change. The first thing is, if I'm going to use this for more gravelly off-roady work, that I need a grippier pair of pedals than the standard Wellgos that came with it. I also need to go round and decide which screws I'm going to put some thread lock on, because at various points, with all the vibrations coming through from the gravel and the single track, both bottles worked loose and needed to be tightened up before they went flying somewhere off into the gorse. I also, and this wasn't necessarily unexpected, had a situation where with the adjustable headset I was finding that they've got a locking screw underneath here, and that came a little loose, so towards the end of the ride on the second day, the stem itself could just move up and down a couple of degrees, only when there was a big hit, but it was a little bit disconcerting. The other thing I was really pleased with was I'd picked up a Wahoo for going or giving me better directions, and that was something that's a wise investment. It's really good. Not quite as good, I would say, as the TomTom I use in the car, but for allowing me to pick up the routes that I wanted, finding my way to different places, it worked really well, and I loved the interface it had with the app that you get and add to your phone. So it was a great time. It's left me with a bike to clean. I think I'll give it a good fettle. But one thing I particularly wanted to note was that the wisest bit of preparation I did before going away was to change the saddle. I was a bit concerned that, particularly over rough terrain, the saddle that came with the bike wasn't going to be comfortable enough. And I fitted what's not an expensive one from B-Twin, so at Decathlon. And as you can see on the top here, it's an ErgoFit system. Now, I had a Decathlon flat bar road bike that I did a lot of touring in France on, and it had an ErgoFit Decathlon seat on there, and I found it very comfortable. And what I actually found with this one was that over the course of the 2 days riding, expecting that my sit bones would have taken a bit of pummeling and I would have a lot of discomfort, I would actually have been in a bit of ongoing pain. But in reality, that has prevented it. Probably ably assisted by some liberal applications of Sudocrem, which I find very effective as a chamois cream, and it's certainly a lot cheaper than anything that's branded as chamois cream and has a couple of smelly essential oils put in it to pump the prices up. One day I might actually try using proper chamois cream to see if it makes a difference, but for me at the moment it doesn't. So, time to have a think, time to decide if I'm going to replace the pedals, time to decide if I want to experiment a bit more with the angle of the headset. Having initially tried 30 degrees and found it too upright, I've now tried 20 degrees and think, particularly for the more off-road stuff, that's a little bit too heads down for me. I want to be looking a bit further down the track and picking my route, so I'll probably adjust that to 25 and see how it goes, at which point I will make a decision and I will buy a fixed stem of the reach and angle that I think will be optimum for how I'm going to use the bike, so I don't have to worry about it being jiggled loose by vibrations and having to keep tightening it up. I am going to replace the brake cables and probably the brake outers. I'm going to replace the gear cables and definitely the gear outers. I think the gearing needs a little bit of tweaking, and I think the new cables will ensure that I'm tweaking it at some level that's not going to stretch. But I've had a lovely weekend, I've really enjoyed it, and now it's time to clean some sweaty clothes, clean a dirty bike, and maybe sit down, have a rest and relax.